I'm Ryan Wilson. That's Emory Hunt. And Mr. Chris Trapasso. And in case you missed it, we have exactly 2 days until the 2025 NFL Draft, which sounds crazy to say out loud. All right, guys, let's get to it. First up, some trades we'd love to see on draft night. I'll start things off. I think mine's pretty exciting. The Browns, currently picked number 2 overall. I'm going to have them taking Travis Hunter. I'm not overthinking it, guys. But what I'm going to do, I'm still Emory's thunder here because Emory won't quit talking about Shedeur Sanders. So I'm going to get the Browns Shedeur Sanders as well, Emory. And I'm going to have them trade pick 67 to come back up to pick 20, which means they're going to leapfrog by 1 spot the Pittsburgh Steelers, who pick at pick 21. And they're going to get Travis Hunter, too. And they're going to get Travis Hunter's throwing mate, Shedeur Sanders, at pick 20, 2 for 1. And Emory, I'll start with you because you've been driving the Shedeur Sanders train for a while. If the knock on Shedeur has been, well, we don't know what he looks like not throwing to to Travis Hunter, why not have him throw to Travis Hunter at the next level? Because we know what that looks like all day long.
Right. I've heard a new one, too. It's like, man, I don't know if he could throw in cold weather. Like, man, Colorado was right next to Florida. I didn't know that, man. It was crazy how people just create things. But here's the thing, Ryan. I was thinking about this the other day. And I was trying to think back to how the Texans were able to pull that off, that exact scenario where they went from 2 and then jumped back up to 3. Didn't they have pick 12 or something? Because I was like, how could you convince somebody, if you're the Browns, to trade completely out of the first round to get back in high enough to where you can say, okay, we can get Shedeur Sanders? And would you include a player in that regard if you had to add a player to that trade value?
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. And the reason I picked Denver, number 1, Steelers picked 21, and they'll probably be very interested in Shedeur Sanders if he's there. And number 2, if the Broncos are targeting a running back, and we've had Emory and Hampton come in some of these mock drafts out of UNC at 20, maybe Emory and Hampton isn't there at 33. Maybe he is because the quarterback's now going to go ahead of where you might thought he would go. Or you can take Trey Henderson. There are going to be some options at running back as well, and you get an extra pick at pick 67 if you're the Denver Broncos, who have very few needs. One other thing I'll point out, at the time, a lot of folks were saying, I can't believe that the Texans gave up so much to get CJ and then trade back up and get Will Anderson. No one said a word since because Will Anderson's been absolutely balling out. So he makes a ton of sense there. Chris, any thoughts on this trade? Not necessarily in terms of whether it makes sense or not, but do you like it for a Cleveland Browns team that currently has Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco as their quarterback?
Well, you just said it. I think they certainly need a long-term answer at the quarterback position, and obviously Sanders would represent more of that than what they currently have on the roster. But what you mentioned, and you being a Steelers guy, I'm kind of surprised that you want to see this trade because there would be so much spiciness to jump right in front of their division rival that is also in the quarterback market. So it would make for, not just because it's Shedeur Sanders, but it would make for one of the biggest headlines in the entire draft to see the Browns leapfrog the Steelers in round 1 and pair Travis Hunter with his quarterback in college, Shedeur Sanders.
And maybe that makes up for the draft back in 21 years ago now, Traps, 2004, where the Browns passed on Ben Roethlisberger, Ohio's own, let him fall to the Steelers. And that's one of the many, many, many curses the Browns have faced, it feels like, during their return to the NFL when they came back in 1999. All right, Emory, you're up, and you have the Jets moving down. They currently pick 7th. They're going to number 10 to take Tyler Warren. What's interesting about this is that I've heard they like Tyler Warren at 7. You think there's an opportunity for him to be there 3 spots later. And I'll ask this on the other end. Who might the Bears target if they're moving up from 10?
Therein lies the rub right there, Ryan, because my whole thought process with this trade was, okay, if the Jets like Tyler Warren, and the only other closest threat to take a tight end, in my opinion, would be the Indianapolis Colts. But we know there's a lot of teams that want that running back, that want that Ashton Genty, and maybe, I was about to say Oakland, maybe the Las Vegas Raiders takes him at 6. We've now heard Jacksonville may be interested in the running back at 5. So to me, if you're the Jets, you can kind of get down a little bit, still get your guy while picking up some future assets in other rounds to continue to stockpile the depth along the roster. So this would be one of those shrewd moves. Hey, Chicago probably goes up and gets Ashton Genty if they see Jacksonville and or the Raiders pass on him. So now they've leapfrogged perhaps the Cowboys to get the top back in the draft. And if you're the Jets, you at least are able to secure some assets in case you have to move right back up from 10 to whatever to take Tyler Warren, just so you can get him before the Colts take him at 14.
I'll be honest, Trap, sometimes we work with people that I like to call empty suits. Emory actually is making some sense in that suit. He is dressed up and he's actually making sense. And that's the other thing. I don't think enough people are talking about this, and I'm glad Emory brought it up. Don't be surprised if Ben Johnson is in on the Ashton Genty business for all the reasons that we saw Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit. And the other part of that is, I think Emory's exactly right. I think the Jets like them some Tyler Warren. And I'll ask you this, Traps. Is Tyler Warren at 7 and or 10? Is that too high? Last year, Brock Bowers went 13, and part he got pushed down, but he might actually be one of the best players in the NFL already.
Yeah, I think it would be too high at 7, but I love Emory's idea for the Jets to move back, get those extra assets, especially new GM, new head coach. And I like the Justin Fields acquisition because it didn't cost a ton to bring him in, but I don't know if he's the long-term answer. But we have to remember that in Chicago, probably the most stable receiving threat in the Justin Fields era was probably Cole Kmet. So I would love to give Justin Fields a tight end prospect, but get those extra picks. I would be a lot better, just feel better about picking Tyler Warren after a trade back, because I don't think he's quite the separator that Brock Bowers was last year.
Yeah, and if we were doing a redraft, it feels like Brock Bowers would probably be a top 5 pick after, or maybe pick 7 after the run on the quarterbacks go there, because he's blown everyone's mind. And that's one of the things you have to sort of figure out, right? A lot of times these athletic tight ends go in round 1, and it's the tight ends that go on day 2 and sometimes day 3 that outperform them for whatever reason. But Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, and Emory mentioned the Colts, and a tight end feels like a marriage in the middle of round 1 as well. So I wonder if that would necessitate the Colts thinking about moving up. Should Tyler Warren go somewhere between 7 and 10? So that's something else we have to sort out. But for now, Chris, coming to you, because your pick also involves the Bears at 10, but you have the 49ers moving up a whopping 1 spot for Mason Graham. Now, I do wonder if Mason Graham falls. I think there's an opportunity for him to fall past 5, and we've sort of talked a lot about Mason Graham going to the Jaguars at 5. I feel like that probably isn't going to happen, so there's an opportunity for him to slip a little bit. I'll ask you this, Traps. Do you think that the Bears would consider Mason Graham at 10 because of his ability to rush the passer, and we know how good he is against the run, or would it make more sense for them to move down 1 spot, give whatever 4th, 5th round pick, whatever it is? Because the 49ers certainly could use a Mason Graham in their life.
Yeah, I think the Bears would think about it, but they did bring in Grady Jarrett in free agency, who obviously is a little long in the tooth, and Mason Graham would represent the future. But what you mentioned, trading back 1 spot, and really for the 49ers, anywhere inside the top 10 to move from 11 to get Mason Graham, I think should be something that is near the top of the priority list for San Francisco. They lost Javon Hargrave in free agency. They don't have Malik Collins anymore. You have Nick Bosa in the prime of his career on the edge. He loses his running mate, Leonard Floyd. So this is a 49ers defense that has lost a lot of pieces this offseason. And to me, Mason Graham is the best defensive tackle in the class. He's a consensus top defensive tackle. The pass rush ability is there. He's great against the run. Multiple years of high-level production, not just in the Big Ten, but as we saw Michigan 2 years ago win the national title, was making big plays in the college football playoff. I think this is a team that likes to be good in the trenches on both sides of the ball, like Philadelphia, and Mason Graham would help this team that has 12 picks in this draft to move up to get someone in Mason Graham, who's an elite level prospect.
And those 12 picks, usually we say they're going to trade a bunch of those things, but they've moved on from so many people. They may use double-digit draft picks by the time this is all said and done. Hey, Emory, are we overthinking the Mason Graham thing? He's not Quinnen Williams to me. He has shortish arms if you do the measurables thing. But I want to get your thoughts on whether should he just go at 5 and not get cute, or does it make sense for that he might slip a spot or two?
Hey, good football players, size is not a skill. I don't care how tall, short, long your arms are. Are you playing ball? Or are you winning? The question I would have, Chris, I know we're short on time, would be who's the team that the 49ers would be afraid of to go up that 1 spot to make sure they get Mason Graham?
Well, really, it would be anywhere inside the top 10. If he slips past the Jaguars at 5, I would be fine with the 49ers parting with one of those later round picks, whether it's a 4th rounder or packaging some picks. So it doesn't necessarily just have to be the Bears, anywhere inside the top 10 to make sure, just say, hey, we want this elite defensive tackle prospect on our defense.